Tim Linder here. I am going to show you all about adjustment layers and what you can do with adjustment layers inside of Photoshop. So we know at this point that if we wanted to adjust an image, we can go to Image, Adjust, and we can choose from a lot of these options here. Hue and saturation, vibrance levels, all these options that we have. And so if I adjust the levels, I can make an adjustment here of this image and choose OK, and it has created that adjustment on this layer. Now, this is a destructive edit, meaning that I have changed, or I guess destroyed, the original pixels as they were and changed them into this color. So a better option for image adjustment is through an adjustment layer instead of just a destructive edit like this where I change the pixels permanently. I can use an adjustment layer. And so basically the same options that I have in that pull down menu for the most part, I can get to using this little icon down here at the bottom of my layers panel, and I can pull up and get a levels adjustment here. And notice what happens. A new layer shows up in my layer panel here, and the properties panel also opens with the same options as I had in my dialog box for a levels adjustment. And I can make these adjustments in this panel instead of doing it from the image adjust dialog box. And in doing so, I have done a non-destructive edit, because if I wanted to turn that change on or off later on down the road, or if I want to double click on that adjustment layer, I can go back in and make a change or adjust it later on down the road. So adjustment layers are a much better way of creating these image adjustments because it's a non-destructive way of editing. Another benefit to them is that they actually work across several layers if I wanted that to have happen. So I have another image open here. This is this lightning image, and I'm going to get my move tool here and just drag this layer up into my motorbike image here and let it go. And I'm going to also maybe change the blending mode of this lightning strike here to screen so that it shows through. And oh my gosh, what a terrible chain of events at the X Games. So what I've got here is a couple different layers. I'm going to erase this off his helmet so at least it looks a little bit more believable there. Whoop. And notice that the adjustment layer right now, if I move and change the adjustment layer, it only affects really the motorcycle image, not really the lightning layer at all. So if I wanted to adjust both the lightning and the motorcycle image, I would need to take this adjustment layer and drag it above to be the topmost layer. And now you'll notice that as I drag this adjustment layer around, it's also adjusting the lightning image as well. If I only wanted to get to adjust one layer, what I can do is hold the Alt or Option key and click right here on the seam in between two layers, in between the layer with the adjustment layer and the layer below it. So if I hold Alt or Option, notice that changes my icon a little bit, and I can click, and now this is only affecting my lightning layer. This adjustment layer is only affecting the lightning layer and not the motorcycle below it. So I can again hold Alt or Option and click on that line, and again only affects the layer right below or affects all layers. So I can jump back and forth between those two adjustments. So that is the basics of adjustment layers. You can tie in several adjustment layers one on top of another. I could pick them from the adjustment layer panel as well as choosing them from this pull down menu right here, pop-up menu. At the bottom of my layers panel, I can also go up here to the top and tie in different layer adjustments here as well. So let's say I wanted to go to let's try a gradient map adjustment. So if I choose my gradient map adjustment and pick a interesting gradient map, notice now it affects everything that's below it. I can turn these on and off. They're both tied in together. I can use several adjustment layers stacked on top of one another as well. So that's the adjustment layer non-destructive editing technique of adding these adjustments.